Hi, I'm Charla Mahima, and I'll be first explaining the guessing number program. In the guessing number program, the user is first asked to guess the number, which is initialized to 5. And in the second part of the program, the first user is asked to input a number with between 1 and 10, and the second user is asked to guess that number inputted by the first user. And to check if we got any errors and issues within this code, we can use the debugging tool. And for this process, I have already placed some breakpoints within this program. These breakpoints will help me closely examine the program to check if the variables are being initialized properly and the string conversions are being done properly, and if the conditional checks are being done properly, and if the catch blocks are executing properly. Now we can start the debugging process by clicking the Start Debugging button. Now the program has stopped at integer number 5, where the number variable is being initialized to integer 5. So if we check here, within the local, the number variable got updated into 5, so it's working properly. Now within the while block, we'll be checking the number that user guesses is equal to the number initialized to 5. And when we check it, now first the guess number, which is the input entered by the user, is converted into an integer. Now I can enter a number between 1 and 10. If I enter 8, which is obviously not equal to 5, we can see what will happen. Now, guess number is not equal to number, but the guess number I entered is 8. So the guess number variable got updated into 8. As you can see, when I hover the mouse over the guess number, you can see 8. Now, if we keep moving, now the catch block will not execute because I did not enter an invalid input. Now, after the catch block gets executed, the cursor will go to the start, and the guess number variable was removed from the local because the guess number is not equal to number. We didn't exit the while loop. So that means our loop is working properly. So we can now exit the loop by entering guess number as 5. Now the guess number variable got updated into 5. Now this line of code will check if the guess number is equal to number. As you can see, guess number is equal to 5, so we can keep moving. As you can see, we exited that while loop. Now we're on the second while loop, where the first user is asked to input a number between 1 and 10. Now we can check if the input given by the user is converted to a integer properly. When I will enter 9, as you can see, the user input variable got updated to 9. And then it checks if user input is between 1 and 10. So we can exit this loop. In the second part of the program, the second user is asked to guess the input given by the first user, and this line of code converts the user guess into an integer. And we're going to ask the user to guess the number entered by the user 1. If we say 6, the user gets updated to into 6. And this line of code checks if user guess is between 1 and 10 and moves on to the next line. And then checks if user guess is equal to user input, which is obviously not. User guess is 6 while user input is 9. So it will write you guess the wrong number to the console. And then we'll move start of the user guess loop so that the user can try again to guess the correct number. Now you can check the console to see that all the messages that we are asked the console to print out has been printed out. So after closely examining the code with the use of debug tool, we were able to find out our code doesn't have any errors at the moment. And so that is the explanation for my guessing number program. Now I'll be explaining the program divisible for. In this program, the user is asked to input a number n, and then the program checks for numbers between 1 and n that can be divided by 4, but not by 5. And then the numbers list that they find is then printed to the console. Now, to check and closely examine this code, we can use the debug tool, and I have already placed some breakpoints within this code, and these breakpoints will check if the console write lines are done properly, and then the start and then conversion of strings to integer is done properly, and if the for loop is executed correctly with the condition being met. Now we can start the debugging. Now the program has paused over this line where it says please enter a number, and if we step over this line, the console should be printing out please enter a number, and it has. So that means that line of code, which is the start, is executing properly. Now the string n where I enter the number should be converted to an integer and then stored in the variable n. Enter. Now if I step over that line, in the console, I can enter a number, let's say 98. Now the integer, now the variable n should be updated to 98. If I move my cursor, as you can see there, you can see n is 98. And also in the locals, you can see n has been updated to 98. Now there are no items within the watch. So now to keep track of what's being entered to n, I can add a watch. Now n is at watch and n is updated to 98. Now, if I move over that line, now it's in the for loop, and the for loop will check for numbers between 1 and 98 that can be divided by 4 but not by 5. Now, after checking all the numbers that are between 1 and 98 and then checking for numbers that can be divided by 4 not by 5, then it will print to the console numbers between 1 and n that are evenly divisible by 4 but not by 5, and then write down the list of numbers. Now we can stop the debugging process. As we closely examined the program within the debugging mode, we saw that there were no issues within the code. So now we can run the code. Now, if I enter 98, it's going to give me all the numbers between 1 and 98 that can be divided by 4 and not by 5. So as you can see, there were no issues within this code. So that's all for my explanation. Thank you.